7?
Yeah,
Okay,
or
great.
earlier if you need to.
No, I mean,
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. And
woo!
right off the top here, I want
Woo!
to ask Sam about his Maui Brewing Company hat, because I know you were in the Hawaiian Islands, but were you in Maui? I forget what you told us.
I was in
Living the
Maui.
dream. Living the dream.
Nice. I love Hawaii, man. I've been there 3 times actually, but
Wow, 3 times.
well,
Holy.
Ashley's dad was there like for work a number of years ago, so like we went to visit him once, and then we went for our like to get married. Basically, we eloped, even though we told our family we were doing it. It wasn't like a secret, but we just went, just the two of us got married, and did like an amazing hike, and then went back 2 years later. But I haven't been in quite a while, and I'm like itching to go someday. So I'm excited to hear what was your experience of Maui like.
The whole thing was just spectacular. We've been looking forward to it as a family for a long time. And a big note of this trip, by the way, that Hawaii was my 50th state. So I've been to all 50 states, which is freaking awesome.
Amazing. Very, very cool accomplishment. That's fantastic.
So that was a good state to end it on. But
nice.
yeah, we were there for a week. So we did an island hop. We went to Maui specifically. We chose that island from some discussions with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And, where we stayed actually was basically 2 to 3 miles from actually where all the fire damage occurred in Lahaina.
Wow.
So it was a little sad to see that there, some devastation there, and they're still rebuilding, which is very tough for the local people there.
Mm-hmm.
They need the tourism, of course, to help, financially, but it's sad to see, you drive right through it and then you go to your vacation. So that was a little tough,
right.
Right. And when you leave your area by the beach, you go to the local town for stuff like restaurants or groceries or what have you, and that's where you really kind of get to feel it. So
and you brought the kids.
We brought the kids. Yes.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah, this was well, I've been saving a lot of airline miles, to be honest. So I really stockpiled them for a long time, and then we finally, it was a very hard thing to spend all those airline miles on a purchase of 4 tickets. I was like,
right,
oh my
but
God.
That's not even the half of it, because your kids are roughly about the same age as my kids, and they're not little kids anymore where you get the discounts on the lodging and stuff like that. So that's really, the airline is not what kills you. It's the hotel, right? And the food.
Yeah, the food, definitely. Well, everything's expensive out there, as I'm sure.
I would imagine so. Wow.
Yeah. And actually, it was interesting. We had no expectation of this. We went to the supermarket the first night, and there were no eggs. We went to 3 other supermarkets. Eggs were completely gone. And they're like, we're not getting any more till Tuesday. You can try some of the local farms.
Wow. Did you see chickens there on Kauai, which is the island I went to? Yeah, there's like tons of chickens all over the island.
I'm following around with a basket just to see if
it's just like waiting for eggs, right? Yeah. No, the same thing happened here. They were like totally out of eggs at a couple of the grocery stores. A few different times over the last few weeks. This is the conversation in our country, is like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
Eggs are such a staple. So, that must've been a little shocking. It's like, you get to this island and they're like, like what else are they going to be out of, and like waiting for like freight to come in on a ship or something. It's pretty
know.
Wild.
I got up early the next morning and raced to the grocery store. I'm like, I called them like, do you have eggs? They're like, yeah, we just got them in. I was like, I got in the car. I just like took off.
Wow.
Just before
that was like
clear them out.
COVID, right? Like toilet paper, shortages during COVID, and also eggs for a while, and flour and things. Like it's, stuff happens. Yeah.
So I hate to bring the conversation back to money. I won't grill you anymore, Sam, but are you like me? Like I find that when I'm on vacation with the family, it takes me a few days to get into the swing of things, where like the first few days, like you're hemorrhaging money left and right, right? you might as well just give them your wallet and say like, take what you want and just give it back when you figure you're full there. But and then like by day 2, you're like, screw it, like whatever it is, it all of a sudden the card, comes out and the money comes out, and you're less, you're desensitized by that point. But I always find it, no matter what I do, it's always like a rude awakening anytime I travel with the family, mostly because it's just like, it's so expensive. It's just crazy.
I do go through a wave of emotions, and like I think 2 weeks before the vacation started, I got hit with 50% of the hotel, and I was like, "Oh God,
Oh, wow.
like that
Yeah.
hurts." And then it does. You feel it. I think I feel it more towards the end of the week when I'm like, "All right, can we stop spending already?" I'm like,
Right.
Right.
and then I look at my statement when I get home, and I just fall over. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it
And
was
the
worth
only
it, man.
right. The only thing when you take your family to parts of Europe, most times at the hotels, breakfast is included. So you always make those plans like, all right, we're going to have a big breakfast and a light
Right.
lunch, and then our big meal will be for supper. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
always like best laid plans, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Well, that's one of the reasons we actually did like a condo so that we had a kitchen and stuff. So
oh,
we
nice.
made some meals back at the place, and we went out some other days just to,
Yeah, that helps out.
the costs get crazy,
Yeah.
It's so it was
Now, I
nice to
thought,
just,
Sam, if you buy 49 states, you don't get the 50th for free. It's not some kind of, like once you visited 49, the country is just like, here you go. Here's tickets and a hotel,
no, I could buy a $5,000 gold pass to,
There-
to the 50th state, but that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, nice, nice. Yeah. Well, and you'll have a new target number pretty soon. You'll have 51, right? So you'll have to,
yeah.
but you've already been to Canada, so.
Right. I gotta
Yeah, let's
just go-
not. Let's veer right away from that topic.
Yeah,
Sorry,
just let it go.
sorry to our northern neighbors. I just, no, like. It's not
Well,
us.
pretty soon, if you go to Canada, it won't count because it'll be part of the United States, and so will Greenland. So you can't even count those anymore.
Yeah.
That's right, Greenland. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, no, it's going to be a new name also. Red, White, and Blue Land. They actually didn't literally a probably somebody in the House of Representatives like had legislation to.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it
very
just has such a
creative.
ring to it, doesn't it? Like,
Red, White, and Blue Land.
man, people are nuts. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if you're on team like burn it all down, but
Yeah.
let's move away from politics now. It's just I guess it's been a little while since we all chatted, so it's coming right out. But
That was my
anyhow.
fault.
Well, yeah. Welcome back to the continental U.S., Sam. I assume that's where you are. I know you're in you're doing some training classes right now.
Yeah, I'm back in the state of CT, so
Nice.
I'm back home. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I love to travel though, just in general. As a side note, it was nice with the family, but just I love checking out different places, and even like places that like people don't generally go to. It doesn't have to be a big like resort area or anything. I love to travel like crazy, so I'm looking forward to the next trip.
Have you ever
Nice.
seen the YouTube channel Peter Santinello is the guy's name?
No.
So he does what you're describing. He travels to all different places, like well-known places and less well-known places, and it like talks to people, just like literally brings a camera and goes and talks to people. His videos get crazy numbers of views. He's just really down to earth and has a conversation with anybody he meets, and it's just a great way to, like, if you can't go there yourself, it's a great way to kind of get the experience of what it's like to travel in that way, like you're describing, or what I remember from van life, just ending up in some random town, like I didn't know this town was here, and suddenly you're chatting with somebody like, what's it like to live here, how, and so you get into these conversations, you learn a lot about people, and I really think that like travel should be like mandated or something, like, or should be encouraged in some way or incentivized for more people to travel just within the country, within this, this country to start with, and just to learn, like by talking to people that grew up in a different place than you and had different life experience, you learn how it's perfectly valid to have a different perspective, on life. And you also learn that you have a lot in common with everybody everywhere you go. And, for some reason, you don't see that stuff online, like most of the time, that's not what you find on X or Twitter or whatever it is. So, that's a great reason to travel, is just to see what's out there. Right.
Yeah. I just brought up that guy's website. I'm going to check it out because that very much interests me, but I can definitely agree with what you're saying there, because once you meet someone from a different walk of life, or a different town, or a small town versus a big town, you start to open your eyes as to why I think the way I do, why they think the way they do, and it becomes less of a who is that person in that rando town that says this stuff. I'm not just talking about politics, I'm just talking in general. And so it's really I can't stress it enough. It's really opens your eyes so big to what's out there besides your own opinion in life.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Anyways,
Anyway, so
thanks for talking about my travel. I love it.
yeah. No, I mean, I always love to hear, about Hawaii and just like live vicariously through that, because it's one of those things. I remember growing up and like Hawaii was like in some TV show, like they would go to Hawaii and that was like
5-0.
a really big deal in the show, and like just hearing about like seeing
Brady
it and then
Bunch
finally
went to
getting to go
Hawaii.
there. Yeah.
That's where they jumped the shark.
Oh, literally,
Is
right? Yeah. The original meaning of jumping the shark.
Yeah, I think
No, that was
Hawaii.
from Happy. No, that
That's
was
Happy
Happy
Days.
Days.
Oh, Happy Days.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Happy Days. My
Fonzie,
bad.
yeah.
Fonzie
I'm
jumping
thinking
shark,
of Full House. They went to Hawaii. Do you guys ever watch that show? It's like TGIF, one of those.
You're too young, Joe. No.
No, I know that show, Full House.
Nice. Yeah. Danny Tanner.
Bob Saget,
Right? What's it? Bob Saget. Yeah. OG
Yeah.
Bob Saget before we knew he was had a filthy mouth.
Right.
He's just this like nice
Right.
guy on a
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they went to Hawaii and like the Beach Boys like performed. On
Oh
the
yeah,
episode
because
and
John
everything.
Stamos played with them.
Yes,
I remember.
yeah. I mean, I just remember like ever since then, I think I was like, man, Hawaii is like that, like fantastical kind of place. And so, yeah, that's very cool. So you saved the best for last, I would say.
Yeah.
Any tech travel tips?
You know what? I basically only took out my laptop once to like download information from my GoPro SD card. And that was it. I did I did some stuff on my phone a little bit, but I turned on focus mode where I wouldn't see the badge of new emails. I actually, if you allow me to talk about the vacation one more time, that was a big piece that I wanted that I never do. I'm always like, let me see what's happening. Do I have to check on this? Do I have to do that? Especially if I'm in different time zones. I made it a purpose. I told the guys, I was like, listen, guys, I like mentally, I just need to get away like this. I just need this. So if you know how to call me if you need to, but I'm going to turn off Slack. I'm going to turn off my Apple Mail notifications from work email, and I'm just going to be gone.
Nice.
And it was so good. It was.
How about
so
categories? Did you leave categories on?
Mail.
Yeah, I love categories on.
Yeah. I love how Apple just changed that, and then like all my clients are like, "Well, I don't know, my mail app's broken because it just does all this weird stuff now." I'm like, you know, I mean, it
decides what your priority is, and
right.
I didn't mean to derail it, Sam.
No,
but
it's funny.
So it must have been like really liberating. I mean, I couldn't even imagine doing that.
I know,
but yeah, that's fantastic.
I could never imagine before, but I just
it's because you have a team. You have a team. That's why
the team.
I don't have
yeah,
a
but
team.
see, the team thing is a double-edged sword, right? Because before I had a quote unquote team, I'm a one person operation, one man show, and it was just me, like
Rooftop
you, Jerry. The rooftop in Spain. You feel this burden on your shoulders, like you go away, your clients. They still need, exactly. So I found myself one day on a rooftop in Spain, and you can go back and listen to like 20 different times where we've talked about this. And so, you just were stuck, like you're on call. You're just by definition, like they're calling you. So, but then you have a team. And so, wow, the burden is relieved. I can have the team handle that and they're on call. But now I have a team. They need me, So it's sort of like this, you have to kind of find that, do that dance and find that way. And it's also a mindset thing. It's like where you went into it, Sam, knowing, how did you know? I mean, you must have felt like you were on the verge of breakdown or something, but did you just know, like you said, mentally I need this to be like a real break. So what clicked for you, like going in where you knew you had to do that?
You just bust out crying in the middle of the day. That comes off.
When I'm in class, I just start, excuse me, class. I need a moment.
I have to step out for a second.
I think I've just been ultimately super stressed about a lot of different things in life and not just work. And this was just the getaway that I needed, which of course is a beautiful getaway. So I did check periodically throughout the week just because I wanted to clean up messages. I didn't want to check on Friday or Saturday and see like 5,000 messages because that would be ultimately too stressful. And there were a couple of times in the week when I peeked like at the end of the day and I was like, oh, I wouldn't answer this that way. So I would start to reply and then I'm like, nope, delete. I'm like, it's good. Nice. It's handled. Like, I'm not going to inject my opinion somewhat unnecessarily because I didn't like the way something was drafted,
Interesting.
So it took a little bit from me because I'm not like that. I'm always like, I like to have a certain way of communicating with the clients. I know
Yeah.
there are different personalities, but I want it to come across a certain way. And if I don't like it, then I'm like, I wouldn't say this like this, you know? And maybe it's nitpicky at times, but it's the way I feel like they like us and respect us because of the way we talk to them.
Right.
So anyway, long story short is I was looking at that and attempting to do that a couple of times, and I stopped myself and I deleted. And I really only talked to people, I think, once on like Wednesday via Slack, and then I just shut it off again. So it was really great.
It's good to catch yourself doing that too. Like that instinct to, you know, I would be the same way, like, you know, rewording something and, you know, sending it back as a little way of coaching, you know, coaching my team over the years and all. But yeah, it's good to notice that as that comes up and be like, actually, I don't need to do that. You know, and where does that come up on a day-to-day basis when I'm fully online and I'm not on vacation, where I could, you know, avoid a lot of back and forth just by saying, you know what, it's good enough. Let me move on, you know, and that, and so, or, you know, or just like zoom out on that. So it's good to notice those instances too. And everybody should disconnect at least once a year for at least, I mean, I don't want to say even like, you know, a week is not enough or anything, but like at least a week, if you can do it for a little bit longer, you know, you get really benefits from that, like to just retrain your, you know, like to just disconnect, like just to be able to disconnect from the work, I think is really, really important to do. And I don't know why we don't have that culture here of doing that regularly.
I know other countries definitely do. But even when you're a one-person team, like, I mean, you used to talk about this back in the day as well. Like you could develop relationships with other consultants so that you can possibly break away for a little bit. I know it's hard, of course, but like you got to give yourself that mental break or else one day it will break on you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I found myself when I was a one-person operation, like I kind of almost didn't want to focus on that. Like, not that I didn't want clients to know, you know, because I mean, some clients actually find that appealing. They like know that they're going to get you when they call, you know, it's not this big bureaucracy of a company.
Right.
So there's benefits to it too. But like, I found myself being like, okay, that's kind of a limitation. I came from working for a company and the company presented as a company and we were, you know, as a company more impressive. And now I'm just me. Like, I don't want clients to look at that and think that's worse, that it's just me. And so I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't like really want to talk about the fact that it was just me. So if I'm on vacation, I kind of didn't really want them to know. And, you know, whereas these days, you know, I mean, because I have coverage, whether it's Tim or Jerry subcontracting or just an answering service, like there's somebody there. And so I don't have to worry that the client's not going to get taken care of. So I will tell them, you know, I'm traveling on, you know, Friday or whatever the case is. I'll be a little bit more open about that now than I was when I kind of didn't want to talk about that and, you know, call attention to it.
You know, it's kind of funny because you're like, you know, there's Tim and then some subcontractor and Jerry's just like, that's me. He's
Didn't
like,
I say Jerry? Yeah.
No, he did.
Yeah.
One little tip here: if you do have to take time off, and this is nothing revelatory that I'm going to share. It's instead of saying like I'm going to be like I got to go for a couple of days, you can't get me. Just say I'm going to be doing some professional development. I just love that.
There you go.
Those two words together. I'm going to have limited availability because I'm at a professional development conference, whatever you want to call it. You know,
love that.
If you're professionally developing in Hawaii, God bless you. You know,
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's just a great little thing to say. And the out of office, I just think you're looking for trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, me being a single guy here doing what I'm doing, you know, but the other thing too is, and this isn't the topic of our show, or we didn't really have a topic today, but, and I don't want to belabor the point, but it's the business that we're in. So like, yeah, you know, not to give ourselves a real lofty opinion of ourselves, but we're kind of like doctors, right? Like you have these relationships with these clients, just like you do a patient-doctor relationship. And sometimes they just want to talk to the doctor, you know, even if it's something really stupid, like, you know, my throat hurts. So sometimes you do have to take care of that from time to time. But I think that's fantastic what you did there, Sam. That's great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. You spent a lot of money, but you know.
Yeah, well, I got to get more clients now. That's my motivation.
Yeah. Got to get more mileage.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah. What do you got? What do you want to talk about, Jerry?
I need to talk about a couple of first health things for starters. So I had a we're in the wrong business. First, I want to tell you that I had an implant, right? So when you get old, your teeth get all wacky, and so I originally had an implant, but then that implant failed. Right? It was put in 2000. I forget it was 2018 or something like that, but it failed.
Wow.
I didn't do anything to make it fail; it just failed. So they had to
Sounds like a
they had to
computer.
take it out, and they put another one, and it ended up costing me $5,000, like
Oof.
roughly speaking. Not less than that, but a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that was fantastic about going to the dentist is that how
hear
in
that,
the days where they would take an impression of your mouth to get your upper and your lower, if they were going to make a tooth or do a crown or whatever. They don't do that anymore. They go in there with a scanner, and in about 60 seconds, the dentist is done, and you look at this 3D rendering, full color on the screen, and they could rotate it, and they could show you all these different angles of your upper and your lower jaw, and it's amazing. So if you need like a night guard, speaking of stress, like if you grind your teeth and your dentist says to you like, oh, you should really get what they call a night guard, they just go in there and they scan. They don't have to take a mold anymore. I think it's fantastic.
That is
wild.
fantastic.
So yeah. So also, I was at the dentist, and she was telling, somehow it came to you like night guard and stress, and she said, and my husband, he snores a little bit, and what he's been doing, he's been taping his mouth shut. Because
are you sure she's not taping his mouth shut? Like,
I got something about that, but go ahead.
So there's supposedly one of my daughters told me, that's an internet thing now. I didn't even know this
too. Yeah.
But I went out and I got, she showed me what the tape was. It's a 3M tape, but it's paper. It's not made out of plastic. Yeah, paper tape. Like when they put on your arm after they've like drawn blood. They usually put a piece of gauze. Well, that's typically what they use. So the last week or so, I've been taping my mouth shut. Most of the times it does stay. It's moved a couple times, but it's cut down on my snoring. At least
the facial hair too. So
it's fine. It's fine.
I see you're missing part of your mustache over
exactly.
here.
It rips off.
I don't have to trim it as often now.
That's right.
So that's so funny. This is an internet thing now? Is that what you said?
Well, that's what my daughter said. She's like, Joe, you've heard about it?
I've heard the same thing. Like, and this stuff just goes around. I probably read about it in the news because there's some article that mentions that there's a trend, and it's like, from TikTok or something, probably.
Right. And it cost me nothing. For like 2 rolls of tape was like $3.50 from Amazon of this particular type of tape. And, it can only help.
So can I need to say something here, because this is so funny. When I was a kid, I had braces for many, many years. My mouth was all jacked up. I had a small palate. I had all these different things. I actually had a palate widener, which was, if you guys don't know about this, it was basically a tool that would go in your palate. And then my mom had to turn a key.
I didn't know about
to push the palate out.
Wow.
It was awful. And it was painful, by the way.
And look at how beautiful your teeth are now.
Yeah, I still got a small palate. But anyway, so and this is, I feel like my orthodontist was like a masochist. Like he had all these weird tools that
right.
So
Marquis de Sade torture tools.
So I had this mouth guard that I had to wear at night that I kept spitting out all the time when I was sleeping. Right. So my mom taped my mouth shut. And like, I thought, like when I got older, I told people that. They're like, she did what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It was just to keep the thing in. It wasn't like, but it was a strange thing to me. And now that I find out it's a trend, I had no idea.
for snoring. Yep. Supposedly. And like I said, and she was telling me he's got magnets that he wears on either side of his nose or something like that. Some crazy thing with magnets. I'm not going to get that, but if I could, $3 tape, I'm in. Help out my wife a little bit.
Yeah.
So recently I was mentioning to my wife that there was a water bottle that I heard about that purifies water, right?
Oh, wow.
And you could hook it up to your iPhone and you put in water. You could really get it from any source. It's got a charcoal filter straw kind of thing. It's called the Larq, Larq. Right. And it's ridiculously expensive. It's like $119 for a water bottle that might look like this. So we'll talk about the water bottle in a minute. So I was mentioning to my wife, like, that's a neat idea, because you could track your water consumption through the iPhone. There's an app, and it purifies the water. So you could be in school and you could get like, for your kids, and they could get it from the water fountain, and you don't have to worry as much about the quality of the water. And here at home, we get water from a well, and we have an ultraviolet light that passes through our water before it hits our taps. So that was put in by us when we took occupancy of this place 5 or 6 years ago, because we tested the water and we found that This Week in Water, by the way, you've tuned in too, that there were impurities, right? So you can do things like you can pour chlorine, like Clorox, into your well, shock your well. It's to kill the bacteria. Now, we don't have things crawling into our well. Our well is sealed, but things just seem to, Joe, you seem like you might know about this.
I mean, I remember from like RV, water tanks, like you can do that and then flush the system. I'm just wondering, in a well, like, do you like then have to run it for a while after doing that to kind of like,
this UV system. So the UV, well, we didn't achieve any success trying to purify the well, let's say. So we put in this UV system, and it was, it wasn't terribly expensive. And so now anything that we get from the tap has already been debacterialized. That's a technical term. It means removing the bacteria from the water.
Thanks.
So that's with, so anyway, I was telling my wife about it. I said, it's like $119. It's like, that sounds cool, but let me preface this by saying one more thing. When I was a kid, nobody had water bottles. Like, nobody drank water. Once in a while you'd ask for a hall pass to get something from the fountain, but nobody was pushing around water bottles. Nobody bought water, plastic water bottles at the supermarket. It's like, I wonder how we ever made it this far,
Exactly. Yeah.
and I, sometime, and I realize that there's a health benefit to drinking water, but I mawkishly talk about people pushing around these water bottles. But sure enough, my wife, to surprise me, she got me a Larq water bottle. And you could press the button on top, and there it goes. See that? Look at that. Wow. It's purifying the water inside. Yeah. And, track your water consumption. So they're not a sponsor of the show. I had to pay, or she had to pay full freight for that. She said they were on sale. So, she paid like $118 for it. Probably.
Nice.
And she got it through Venmo. So now we can't even return it. So now I'm trying to force myself to drink water, and I'm just like, making biological breaks all day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Biological breaks.
It is good to drink water, but I think at some point, it became like a trend, like of its own, where you show off, you can put stickers on your water bottle. You can, signal that you're like health conscious by carrying the water bottle. I mean, I carry a water bottle if I'm going for a hike, or even just like a long walk in town or something. I'll probably take one. I use probably the complete opposite of what you're showing off, Jerry. The brand Vapor is what I use, VAPUR typically. I mean, a bunch of water bottles, but they're collapsible. So I love them for travel. Also calling back to travel, because, when they're holding water, they're a full-size water bottle. When you finish drinking that water, or like going through TSA or whatever, you just like roll it up, and there's a little
collapse
clip that holds
it.
Yeah. And then, so put it away or whatever. It's really lightweight, and then you can fill it up again, which one of the nice benefits of this water drinking trend is you find those fountains everywhere, and they oftentimes have the little thing for a water bottle, so you don't have to hold it on an angle under the fountain. You've got it on the wall there.
But you really don't know what you're drinking, and it's not unusual, not to be gross here, to find that there's traces of E. coli, and it doesn't mean it's just happens. If it comes from a well, sometimes that just leaches through the soil. So with this, there's a replaceable charcoal filter, and the iPhone will monitor the health of the charcoal filter. And you only get one when you buy it, but you're, in essence, you couldn't go to a muddy stream, because it's not designed for that. But you could go to questionable sources and fill up your water bottle.
Questionable sources.
I know, like the men's room at the Port Authority in New Jersey.
Oh, yikes!
There you go.
I still wouldn't use
go.
that water.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably I wouldn't either.
That's pretty cool. So there's somebody technofied the just the simple act of drinking, staying hydrated. So it's a connected water bottle now. Wow. And
Well,
so I mean, it Bluetooth, I guess, or Wi-Fi, or what?
It charges it with a USB. So you have to. It holds a charge, and then it tells you when you got to recharge your water bottle for the ultraviolet thing on top. And the rest is washable. It's just the top you have to be careful with it. Yeah. And you supposedly, you could like have your water bottle like just sit there for several days, and it's still drinkable water. It's like bacteria will not form, will not build up, because it'll also purify itself. You could set it more frequently, but every 2 hours it'll run the purifier.
Damn, thing's crazy.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty crazy.
Nice.
And now I feel for me my standard water bottle.
I know, my little collapsible thing. And that's the thing about, I was actually thinking that when you brought it up, is that we lose water bottles too. So I like, on the one hand, you want less tech and cheaper because, it's going to be lost. But on the other hand, that probably has like a way of locating it, or, it's going to be connected to your phone in some way.
Yeah.
So maybe it would actually be helpful to have location services or a little embedded AirTag or something in there.
Yeah, there's our idea. We can make a little cozy for this, and with an AirTag.
Nice,
in it.
An AirTag holder.
Yeah, we'll clean up. We'll make all kinds of money.
Yeah, well, you can use that tape that you used after you take it off your mouth when you wake up. You just tape it.
Wow, I like that.
There we go.
Oh my God,
$1 million idea. We got to go.
Nightmares to my childhood. That tape.
I know it may very well help with snoring. It sounds like it does, but I always just thought to myself, like, I don't know that I'd be able to sleep very well. Like it just seems like psychologically, like having my mouth taped would feel like there's some restriction on my breathing or something. And well,
imagine, try putting a night guard in your mouth all night. That's, that's not much.
But at least either. Jerry's putting on the tape himself. Imagine being like 10 years old and your mom's like, shh, like, what's like, good night.
Yeah. Good night. Yeah.
And have a pleasant tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. Sweet dreams, son. Like, here's
just extra tight. Make sure it doesn't come off this time.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Oh, my poor mom. I love her though. She's great.
Yeah. I'm sure she did it with love, but it's just like one of those things. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm wondering if we should get into a couple of topics that I want to talk about. We can probably pick one for the remainder of this show, but this is the most recent thing I've been working on, is implementing Patch. So we interviewed Chad and Ryan, I think, from Alectrona Patch about their Patch software and service. And I use Addigy, and I thought I can roll my own.
May I say that Sam and I, hooray for Sam and I story. We both got with the program very shortly after they were on the show. Yeah, right. And what's your story?
Well, no, and so I mean, like I usually do, I said, let me let Jerry dive in, head first, and
what
see
could
how
go
that
wrong?
goes. What could go wrong? And I could probably save a little money if I roll my own, and I think I can do it. I mean, theoretically, I know how to do that, and so and sure, I mean, a lot of this stuff is built in Addigy. You can update Microsoft Office, you can have it, update any number of different smart software applications that come prepackaged by Addigy or that you are able to add yourself. And so between those different features, I had, no pun intended, a little bit of a patchwork of methods of updating things. So,
I do there.
Yeah. So, you can use some of, again, the public software installers like that Addigy maintains to just, just keep those up to date. You can, again, use the built-in Microsoft Office updaters. You can deploy configuration profiles for Chrome and Firefox and have, those control the auto updates that are built in. And again, I was like, I can do this myself and I'll just maintain all these little things. And it's doable, it's fine. But if you want something that is a little bit like prettier, Patch has a great user interface. If you want something that's just set it and forget it and much easier to use, I'm totally on board with Patch now. So I took a few hours one day, like Friday, Saturday, I kind of dove in a few days ago as we record, and download the software, open it up, browse the really impressive almost 600 software item catalog, configure your settings right there. I mean, it's a really nice interface for actually like changing some of the dialogue text if you want, or choosing which apps to update or which apps to install from scratch, that kind of thing. So you set all those different things and you just save your profile. Deployment in Addigy was really simple, so I'll just fast forward to kind of that part of it. You've got your configuration profile now that controls what patch is going to patch, what it's going to update. And you deploy that with Addigy. You also deploy a PPPC profile that they also include, that Patch includes, that will allow full disk access for Patch, for the Patch binary. And you deploy also the configuration profile that manages the login item, so that it will suppress the little notification that Apple helpfully displays to your user base, saying, hey, we added this software that runs in the background. You can, as the administrator, you can decide which of those they're going to see and which ones they don't need to see this. That's something that they're trusting us to handle. So we suppress that notification. So it's 3 configuration profiles. And I have to just have a little hooray for Joe's story. This is, I think, probably the first time that I've made a smart software item that I just got everything right on the first try.
Nice.
Installation script, the package deployment, like all that stuff was really easy to do. Alectrona includes instructions, just like generic instructions. They also include instructions for Jamf and so on. But with Addigy, it was really simple to use Addigy's built-in smart software way of packaging software to deploy the actual patch, software. I made a flex policy to contain that smart software, those 3 configuration profiles that I mentioned, and I just let it rip, and I added my machine to that flex policy. And yeah, sure enough, I mean, things pop up, and I need to, and I tested it by basically opening some software to see what's going to happen if I'm running Zoom and Zoom needs an update, or running this and that. So I kind of set myself up with a little test case there, and yeah, I was very happy with what I saw. So the one thing I really like about Patch is it does things the way you would just want them to be done. Like if you're not running the app, it just gets updated, It doesn't create a lot of noise for the user. It doesn't it just does it. So that's great. If they are running the software and it needs to be quit in order to update it, it will notify them, and you can control really easily if you don't want it to notify them if they are in some kind of meeting. So if they're in one of the built-in, list of meeting apps like Zoom or Teams or whatever, just defer automatically, like don't notify them when they're in the middle of maybe hosting a meeting, sharing their screen, whatever.
Right.
That's optional, because there may be cases where like you're going to want to enforce that because somebody always has those apps open or whatever the case may be. So it's optional, but I did use that feature. The other thing I really like about, again, it just behaving like you'd want is if the user, so if they're running the app and Patch runs, and they say later, let's say they defer it, if they then quit that app, Patch sees that happen and will automatically update the app. It just takes the opportunity. So it's like, yeah,
Right.
obviously that's the way it should work, and they thought of that. So I mean, just like right from the beginning, it was really easy to deploy, and just like really nice looking, and it just works. So yeah, I mean, you guys are already on board. I'm preaching to the choir here, but anything to add to that from your experience? Yeah.
I mean, I'm a little annoyed that now you're the expert on it, but that's fine. No, it's great. It's great to hear you deploy it, so easily and on the first try.
Yeah.
And I'm just nodding. I logged into one of my MDMs as you were talking to see some of my patch settings, because if I could chime in on this, yes, that all the things that you just said, especially excluding if they're in a meeting or something like that, that's big. Mm-hmm. One of the things that and Patch easily solved this, I'll say, but that I ran into that I didn't expect, I guess, was we had a client that had a very set, they said 7 days was the limit on deferrals, and they had to get it done. So I set that thinking I was done. But what I didn't realize is some users would do what users do, and they see the later prompt and they would just drag it to the side and forget about it and not
Right.
count that as a deferral.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's an option, right? Did they
Yeah.
add that as an option? Yeah,
They
yeah.
added it as an option. So I was
Oh,
like,
that's
I got to be
amazing.
able to
Wow.
fix this. And I went into the Mac admin's Alectrona Patch channel, and I didn't even ask the question. I searched about it, and there it was. And it's a key that says record timeout as deferral.
Yes, I remember
So
seeing that. Nicely
yeah,
done.
and it took care of my problem. It was perfect.
Nice.
You can
That's
even
Now
awesome.
lock
you
the
use it.
windows so they can't move it as well.
You
Oh,
use it both on
interesting. Okay.
Addigy and also on Jamf, right, Sam?
Yes.
So it
Yeah. So
works
the
the same
deployment on
way.
either way is perfect
Mhm.
and easy. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just wanted to chime in on that because I just made I've been kind of setting it and forgetting it because it's that easy. But this latest one, I went to add on to what you just said because I had to
Right.
make an adjustment.
That's amazing turnaround too. It's like you had the the itch to scratch, and they like immediately solved that for you. It sounds like
Yeah.
very quickly. I'm very impressed with their support so far. Do you guys remember like with carbon copy cloner support? I mean, this is probably still the case, but like it used to be Mike Bombick himself like responding to chat. It would be
Mhm.
like so quick, like it just impressively fast turnaround. I
Yeah.
got that same level of support from Patch over the weekend, actually. So as I mentioned, I like kind of started this all on Friday, had a proof of concept, tested it, cool. The next day, Saturday, I'm going and like tweaking some stuff and testing some changes. And as I'm doing it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, so I have one client that runs FileMaker. Now, FileMaker, there's several versions in the catalog, but the latest one, and I think like the latest two were not in there. So I sent them a quick email just as I'm thinking about it. Hey, like, can I put in a request to add FileMaker version, whatever it was, 2024 and whatever. And so not only did they respond on the weekend, but literally within 30 minutes of when I made the request, Ryan wrote back and said like, it's in the catalog. And I'm like, no, that can't be. So I go in and I like refresh the catalog and it's like there. So I'm just so impressed with, that level of service it really means a lot. It's very noticeable, especially these days. So yeah, really good
Nice.
experience so far.
Do you want to, since you're the expert now, Joe,
Yeah.
do you want to just talk about customizing the little pop-up message? That
Yeah,
Ryan can
I
see?
would
'Cause
actually.
that's something that really is significant for me anyway, because yeah, you could roll your own through Addigy or through Jamf, but a lot of that is silent and just
Mhm.
keeping us top of mind with the client.
Yeah.
Like people
I
say,
have two tips on this.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keeping you top of mind. Okay. So one of the things that they have in the patch, app, the desktop app they use to configure all the settings is you can choose an overlay image. So you can specify a file path or a URL. So, I mean, URL is great. I mean, that'll work for anybody if you just have it on some website, whatever. But I thought, I'm going to be creative here. So I'm sure this like icon, so you can overlay the icon of the app that needs updating with any custom icon. So obviously I want my company icon on there so my clients know, hey, like you said, keeps you top of mind, and they know they don't have to send me the inevitable email like, is this you? They're going to know it's me. It's right there. Right. So, and they know I'm working for them and it's legitimate. So, okay, how can I do that easily? That icon it probably exists. So I go into my little library / Addigy folder and I find the file. So it's /library/Addigy /Mac manage /Atom, it's spelled ATOM.ICNS. So that is like, I guess, where your custom Addigy icon that you specify in the Addigy portal like gets deployed to your client so that it's there for like your custom dialog boxes in Addigy. So I just put in that path, and this is another one of those things where I'm like, this is not going to work on the first try. I'm going to have to figure out the right path or whatever, or it's just not going to work. And it just worked. I saw my own little icon there. I'm like, this is so impressive. It's really, really well thought out. So that was a nice little easy way to just, keep your brand there. The other thing I did was I changed, they have the help view text. So there's a little question mark icon in the corner, in that little update window. And it's fine by default, but I thought, I could, let me just test something out. This will be fun. So I included the patch friendly name. So I specified, patch friendly name is, and they have these little tags in there, to use. Patch friendly name is due for an update to new version, patch target version, from current version, patch installed version, this update has been deferred patch deferral count times, right? So you can just put in those little placeholders and things. And that's a way for us both to know, like the client, you've deferred this 10 times, like maybe it's about time to do it. It's a way of seeing, what the version is that it's trying to update to, et cetera. So it's just like a little extra info right there. You have the info, you might as well display it is my thinking. So again, that worked very easily on the first try.
There's also kind of like the full Monty setting, right? Where you could just tell it to update all. So anytime it recognizes that there's updates, and that's the way I've run Patch since I've been using it, is just, let's just nail it, like go ahead and update them all.
Do the thing.
Well, I think that's where I'm heading. Also, probably slightly behind you, in line with that, Jerry, as per usual. But so my initial testing, I just went through and I looked for I looked through everything in the catalog, but then I went back and I searched for the things I wanted. So any web browser, really should be updated regularly. All the common apps like Microsoft Office, any meeting apps like Zoom, whatever. What else did I do? Oh, any password managers, so I'm sort of like putting those in a different bucket of things that really should always be updated. But of course, like you said, everything should just always be updated, generally speaking. And also these days, and if you specify specific ones, then you just have to be able to go back when they update the catalog and add a new app, or your clients are getting, now using a new app or whatever. You've got to go and update your configuration profile.
It's too labor intensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems better just to say update everything. And
is that what you do, Sam? Sorry.
So instead of listing the apps.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I actually list the apps. So I might want to change that up.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, if you don't, if you keep doing what you're doing, you just have to regularly review, has Patch added an app that I, now want to update, or have my clients, do. So the other thing is I don't know what apps everybody's using, and, some of them are not right there. Yeah. Somebody might install an app and just leave it on their desktop. It's not like you can even just run a command to say, show me everything in applications, or you can there's commands to say, find all the apps installed and list them regardless of where they are. I mean, there's, you can do that stuff, but I just want to know if they randomly download some app and put it in a weird place and run it from time to time, that should also be updated, I guess. That's what it sounds like. You and I agree, Jerry, on that.
No, it makes sense. I mean, in my case, we did have, or we know the list of company apps that are installed because we installed them.
Sure.
But that's interesting though, because then I wouldn't have, and that was my mindset. That's why I added them manually. But now I'm thinking, well, why not just update all? So now I might have to change. Figures the new guy comes in and makes me change.
New guy.
Well,
young Joe.
My thinking, here's what I didn't want. So when I thought about rolling my own, I wanted to first get a list of all the applications on my system, right? So I made a custom fact in Addigy. Let's see, what did I do? I think it was built in. Either way, the issue was that it worked ever I tested it, and then I ran out of my machine, and it was it gives me an error, and the error is you have too many freaking apps. It's bigger than the variable size or something. It's over whatever number. I mean, I have literally hundreds of apps in my. So
that's funny.
What I realized was I have accumulated apps over the years that I really definitely do not use anymore. So I don't know if I want some alert to pop up on a client machine about some app that they don't even know they're running. And I'm thinking this through, that shouldn't happen if they're not actually running it. So, that probably won't happen. But then again, there's also a lot of clients that have all those, menu bar icons marching across the menu bar there. And they don't even know what they just leave them there. They don't care. So there are apps that they're running that they don't even know they're running. And now suddenly they're going to get an alert from Patch saying, this app such and such needs to be closed. But it's okay, so let them complain to me about that. That's fine. It still should be updated is the bottom line, I think.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
You know what? Sorry, Jerry.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention that Alectrona Patch will be at ACES, the ACES conference. So if this sounds interesting to you and you want to explore it more before you do anything. Instead of, going to their website and taking a look, you can talk to the folks there.
Yeah, that's a good call out. We'll all be there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just learned something actually about the config profile. I looked at the settings for update all. I had always shied away from that because I figured it would just add all of the
Right.
applications in the array.
The whole catalog.
Yeah. No,
but it doesn't.
I checked for that. No, it just has a
doesn't
flag.
update all.
Yeah,
That's all.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was a good
man.
call too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so I thought, it overall it's been really successful. So another thing I did was I wanted a list. Okay, like what is Patch doing? I can look in the log. That's easy. But I wanted an at a glance thing, especially as I'm testing it to see like what has it done on my machine lately or whatever. Or if a client asks, hey, like I noticed this was updated. What did you do that? Like I want a quick way to reference that.
Yeah.
So I made a custom fact in Addigy that they have Patch has a couple of example, like, here's how to look at the last 300 log entries or things like that. So I take their little, log, like display the last 300 entries of the log command. And then I pipe it into a grep command that greps the output for the phrase successfully installed. And then it clips everything before that. And then it pipes it, because I don't know how to write like regular expressions really. So like I just am looking these up. So it pipes it into another grep command that then cleans up the output basically to include just the thing that got updated and the version number, and then like a new, then it just a new line basically. So I essentially just filter the patch log for just like the name of the app and the version that have been updated on lines, and that is the code for a custom fact in Addigy that outputs a list. So I essentially just have a custom fact that's just going to display a list of all the recent, like the most recent. I haven't added any clever logic like, filter for dates or date ranges or whatever. It just like gives me a list of like the recent updates, of whatever. Like I should probably say, just show me the 10 most recent updates or something like that, but it just shows whatever arbitrary number based on that initial log output. So that's a useful thing to me too. And then lastly, there's a script I made, which is Ryan supplied the code from Alectrona. It's basically just the same code you use for any kind of launch daemon. So you just unload the launch daemon, reload the launch daemon, and by doing that, it runs patch. So if you ever want to just say like patch stuff now, like just run now, don't wait 4 hours or whatever your time frame is, just run. So you just have a script that does that too.
You could even put that like in the self-service there and just tell the user, be like, hey, just hit this button. I mean, I know you want to do it automatically, but it's a nice area to have where they can just hit a button to update all their apps.
Totally. Yep. Well, then I'm going to have to ask for a special feature to be added that displays a dialog box from Patch that says it's already all up to date, because otherwise they're going to click it and it's going to be like, I don't know. Although actually I could script that, because it could be like, do that, like run patch and then like wait a certain amount of time, like, and then scrape the log and tell them what happened or something. So there could actually be I could create that feature if I wanted to. So I like that idea of self-service though. It's nice.
Yeah.
Right. And if you ever needed to like just bring somebody's machine up to date and you knew they weren't working on it, you could do live terminal in Addigy and go sudo patch update -all and it'll run.
Yep. That's right.
Which can be handy sometimes, especially, I've done that before where I'm, gone to a client site or I've remoted into their computer, and I just want to make sure that even before I start that, if I'm trying to sleuth out a problem with the Microsoft Office, let's say, that they're up to date, and that helps me as a starting point to do further diagnostics if I need to.
Totally. Yeah. Same. I mean, I have clients where I have a regular call like that, a regular appointment, like not even a live call, but just unattended, where I remote into, 5 or 10 systems depending on the client. And I, like do those updates that many of which happen automatically already, like through, whether it's a Mac OS update or a Microsoft Office update or whatever, but there's always like some that don't, they just, the client deferred it or whatever happened. And so, to be able to have a command to do that now, as opposed to what I was doing before, which was, well, let me, deploy the Office updates this way, but like, let me also check the auto updater because I don't really believe if necessarily it,
Mm-hmm.
it ran. FileMaker, that at this one client, that was a manual thing. I would go in and check for updates and do that on,
Mm-hmm.
6 different machines or something. This will just do it for me now. So I still have that
Yeah.
appointment scheduled, and I just, like you said, run that command. And then now, before
Yep.
I have to actually go to every machine, I know that there's a certain baseline that they're all going to basically be at. So that's
Nice.
great. Yeah.
Well,
Sam,
welcome to the club, Joe.
thank you. And I got a tip for you because I'm pretty sure you still do you use this monitor control software. The one that
Mm.
runs in your menu bar as like a little brightness icon type thing,
Oh,
and
I
you can
haven't used it in
use.
a while. No.
Okay, so you can use the brightness keys on your keyboard, on your like regular Apple keyboard to adjust the brightness of your non-Apple display,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
Do you
right.
still?
I had forgotten about it.
Well, my advice there, and
Check
actually
it
I just
out.
realized it's not even running, is that it needed a manual update. That's probably why it's not running. So Patch, for whatever reason, I'm going to probably log this issue so that they're aware of it. That software is in their catalog, which is great. Because I have like 1 or 2 clients using it because they have a third party display and it's just a really nice thing to have. But I've been checking manually or trusting it to check for me. And every once in a while, I think to myself, I feel like that software is buggy. I should just check for updates manually. So it's been reporting to me that there is not an update. It was running like version 4.20, and
Hmm.
it's like you're up to date. So Patch told me there's an update for it, and I'm like, that's
What?
weird. It should be auto updating. So let me check. So I tried to update it. It actually didn't work. That's the issue I'll mention to Patch, but it didn't work because the vendor actually has an issue, and that's why it did an update for me automatically, and it didn't tell me there's an update. You actually have to go to their site, and there you'll see in the release history that there was some kind of signing issue, and
That's what I
so
was
it
just gonna
won't.
say.
Yeah, so would an update for, and this happened with, all about the Backblaze issue, I think, Jerry. Maybe we should talk about that too. But similar thing, it sounds like there's a signing issue or whatever that prevented the software from updating itself. So I had to manually update it. But it was actually still really handy that Patch told me because I would have had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm believing that the software is telling me the truth that it's up to date, but it wasn't. And Patch told me it wasn't. So, just another actual benefit of Patch.
Well, hot damn! I didn't know. I am running 4.20, so you're right. I'm updating it right now as we're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. It's been a little weird for me. And I think that was probably why, it was just like a little slow or glitchy in certain cases. So yeah, Jerry, did something come to mind when I said, a signing issue? Did you have, because I think you advised me on this one, the Backblaze one, but was there another issue you were going to?
Well, this is another one of those cases, Joe, where you're going to tell me that I have something to say and I don't remember, and then I have to ask you guys what it was.
Okay. All right.
So
So this issue with this monitor control app not auto updating, because as they call it, a signing issue. I don't really know what the issue was, but sure, okay, that's the issue. We noticed this a while back, and this was weeks ago now that you advised me of this, Jerry. But you're like, how Backblaze has been updating? You're like, I know why. So Backblaze, according to my Watchman monitoring on many of my clients, has not updated. It's not up to date. The software is not up to date, and it's not updating itself. Like I usually just trust Backblaze has, built-in auto updating. So there, you advised me of this, that there was some kind of
sure I did.
problem with Backblaze, and you even sent me code to fix it. You sent me a script or something to fix it. I haven't even done it yet, so I need to actually do that. But yeah, so I think having a third party, like having Patch in place to be able to do this thing that like I'm already supposed to be doing, like I am responsible for keeping everything up to date for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like I finally feel like I'm actually able to do that without a lot of burden, without like always feeling like I'm behind on something. Like I'm just happy I'm now outsourcing that to them to be able to maintain that catalog and handle those updates and be able to add these features when we need them. One last thing on that is that Patch goes to the vendor to download the updates. So it's not like they're maintaining a separate catalog that can be, infiltrated or something. So I
like
also have that
Monkey or
confidence
something
in
like
it.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no like extra delay or separate version that I hope is the real thing, but maybe not, they're going right to the vendor for that. So it just really feels like the kind of easiest way to do this thing that I have probably been, promising my clients.
And there's overhead for them to do that. So initially, you might think like, oh, I could do this in Addigy and I wouldn't have to like sign up for Patch but there's maintenance there. There's work for them to keep that all working properly. So it works properly for you.
Exactly. And I realized that I was going to be spending the amount of time on a regular basis that I would be spending to like keep track of that stuff. Like it wasn't worth it. It's worth paying them to, to do that for us. So yeah, very happy with it. I mean, once again, credit to you guys for, being first and second in line, but I'm glad I got there not too far later.
Well, it's actually, the credit should go to Sam, because Sam was the initiator of having Chad on the show.
That's true.
And as soon as I heard about the product, I was like, oh, this sounds fantastic. Yeah, go ahead.
Sam's patting himself on the back for the live listeners. Yeah. For the audio listeners. Well, it's been fun talking about Patch. I'm sure we'll have more to share, in a future show as well. Probably no news is good news, but I'll keep you posted as I, implement some of these things more widely, because I'm just in testing mode right now, but I'm excited to start to deploy this out to clients and hear their feedback and all, and, add some stuff in Addigy that we can all benefit from. So, yeah. And also fun hearing about your trip, Sam. Welcome back again to the continental US. And Jerry, fun hearing about your dental surgery, I guess. I'm sure not as fun as it was for you going through it, but yeah. It's like, yeah. Well, good talking to you guys. Good to be back with you. And we'll talk to everybody else next week.
Bye.